If you've ever asked yourself, how can I get the swing and the golf game that I've always imagined without trying every tip, every training aid, watching every video after video on social media, then this podcast is for you. Welcome. I'm Daniel Guest, and welcome to the Imagine Golf podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Imagine Golf and PXG. All right. Welcome to the Imagine Golf podcast. Look, today's podcast is, I always think they're good because I'm the one doing them, for crying out loud, right? But it's called, the title is simple. Look, the scorecard shift: how to stop blowups and how to start scoring. And like almost all of our podcasts, right, it is based on my life in golf, my life on the golf course, my life in my golf business, or what I'm seeing on a daily basis. So, look, if you're tired of walking off 18 holes and and you're frustrated because you're getting the same results, and it's a common theme, and you're stuck in a rut, or you're expecting a different outcome without changing your approach. All right. I think today is probably a good episode for you, for sure. Right. Um it's it's you got to do something different, right? And more importantly, you got to learn something new and valuable about your own golf game, right? And look, I was recently interviewed for a popular golf magazine. I can't share the title with you yet because it may or may not be published, but once it's published, you'll know it's pretty big, right? Um, and I shared like three strategies that I want to share with you, right? And I want you to go out and test. Look, right away this week. It's November, middle of November, in the East Coast here, but it's like 60 degrees, right? So you could go out this week and try it, right? And if you're anywhere else in the country, you could probably try it as well. Maybe not, out in Montana, maybe, right? But you get the idea. Look, and these strategies are not about buying a new club or taking another swing lesson, or playing smarter, not hard. It's not about that. These are three simple strategies that you could employ right away, and I almost guarantee, not almost, I guarantee you'd score better, right? Because had I done any one of these three on Saturday, I'd have played better. I'd have scored better as well. I know that for sure. So we're going to talk about, let's call it like day one, day two, day three, right? And by the way, none of this is rocket science, right? But it definitely makes sense. So day one, it's simple. As the title, it talks about, look, we've got to minimize the blow up holes. Point paragraph. We all watch golf on Sunday. We all watch everyone making a ton of birdies. We all think, hey, this is what I need to do. But it's not even realistic, right? You are not going to make you're an amateur golfer, right? You got a day job for a reason. You're a double digit handicapper, and you're trying to make a ton of birdies, right? It is not about making birdies. It's just the opposite. It is about keeping the big number off of your scorecard, right? The average pro makes 3 or 4 birdies per hole, per 18. The average Joe doesn't even make one, right? And but that's not the difference between shooting, 72 and 102, right? I mean, a perfect example, right, is when you think about Tiger's last Masters event or Masters win, right? He actually won the Masters with just no doubles because he had 2 bogeys on the scorecard, I believe. The guy that finished second, he had 2 doubles on the back 9, right? And lost, right? So the fact is, if you can get rid of big numbers, right, the doubles and the triples, it's not that hard to keep racking up some bogeys and some pars and keep yourself around the score that you want to shoot. All right. I think the problem is that most of us are programmed, when we see a par 4 or par 5, we immediately think driver, right? Even though the driver is the worst club in our bag for some of you, we grab that thing and we are, hey, never even thinking twice about, how am I hitting the driver lately? How am I, even more importantly, how am I hitting it today? How did my warm-up go on the range with the driver, all right, before the round? Oh, I didn't warm up with the driver? Well, it's probably not gonna go well, all right? How tight is this hole, right? Where is the trouble? We assume just because it's a, 400 plus yard hole, right? We have to hit it. But I want you to keep in mind, look, a simple rule, right? Keep the ball in play at all costs. Try it. Just keep the ball in play for at all costs. Just try it for a day. All right. If your driver is a really good club for you, then fantastic. Hit it. But if you're worried about keeping the ball in play, don't hit it. I'd rather see you hit any club in your bag 200 yards, right? Than be 50 yards to your right or out of bounds, God forbid. All right. I mean, Hank Haney says it the best, right? The best drives are the ones that you can find and the ones that are in play, right? So keep the ball in play, all right? And this is definitely a mind shift change for a lot of you out there. I get that. Even for me, all right? There was a time where I subscribed to, just hit it far, just hit it far, just hit it far. And I still kind of subscribe to that, but with this caveat, hit it far and keep it in play. Right? It's a way more practical approach that will fit your actual ability than just gripping it and ripping it. So, all right, so that's day one. And your homework, right? I want you to go and golf for 18 holes and see if you can just keep it in play the entire time, no matter what. That means no chipping out sideways, right? No penalty shots, and have some fun with it, right? It'll absolutely change the way that you select your shot or your strategy or all of the above and the clubs and all of the above, right? So you do it for 18 holes. Then I want you to do it for another 18 and then one more. So do it for a total of 72 holes. And then look back. I guarantee you it'll be mind-blowing, right? I guarantee you will shoot a lower score, all right? So that's day one, all right? Here's day two. I want you to track just one stat, if you would, which is proximity of your first putt. What does that mean? All right. So you're going to track how far your approach shot is from the hole. So in other words, how far is your first putt, right? Um, if the answer is like 60, 70, 80, 90, so I just played on a course where I've never seen the greens as big as they were. Heck, you could have a 120-foot putt. You're on the green, congratulations, but you're putting from 120 feet. What are the chances you're going to get up and down from 120 feet? Zero, right? Absolutely, almost unequivocally zero. Our own son one time, he's playing on his high school golf team, and he played the year before and he was like number two, whatever. This year he's like number 5 or 6 or whatever. And I say to the coach, I'm like, hey, what gives, man? And because my son was better than the previous guys in front of him. And the coach said to me, oh, Daniel's not a good putter this season. I'm thinking that's impossible, man. He's always been a good putter. And I just played with him the other day. And it turns out it's not that he wasn't a bad putter, he was a bad chipper or approacher, right? His initial shot to the green was leaving him these incredibly long putts, and just when you say it out loud, what's going to happen. So we had to work on his chipping, not necessarily his putting, and within a week or two, he was right back up to where he deserved to be. So, hey guys, it's Daniel here. Hey, thanks for listening first and foremost. Handicaps haven't changed in over 35 years for one reason and one reason only. Traditional golf instruction just doesn't work. So if you're serious about getting that swing and game that you've always imagined, take a look at our site, imaginegolf.com. Join our members only club. Check out my video series, or even take a virtual or in-person lesson with me. There is no one who's more passionate about making you better in the industry, and I guarantee you'll golf better, guaranteed, or everything is free. You're no different, right? You are more likely struggling with your chipping and pitching if you can't get the ball close than you are with your putting. So, look, consider this, right? If you're 150 yards from the green and you hit it to 30 or 40 feet from the hole, even if you're a single digit handicapper, all right, you've hit a fantastic shot. But if you're 25 yards off the green, right, and you chip it to within, you know, 10, 12, 15 feet, you've just shot yourself in the foot because the likelihood of you making that putt is extremely, extremely low. So you can't get up and down. All right. Um, you know, um, I, I look, I've said the same thing where, you come off the 18th hole and you say to yourself, man, I would have had a great score if I just hadn't putted so bad. And then you look at the number of putts you've had and you had, 36, 34, 35 putts. Not horrible, right? The average golfer has over 40 plus putts. So look, I have the belief that everyone has the potential inside of you. I really do. I don't know that I believe in Ben Hogan, where when he says everyone has the potential to shoot par. I don't know if I buy that. But I definitely believe everybody can be a single digit handicapper. I know this to be a fact because I've trained thousands of them. All right. We've had 70 some people alone this season shoot par. So look, I think once you get that aha moment and the understanding of where you're really losing strokes, you can literally go from like a 94 to an 84. I'm not even joking. You can go from an 84 to a 77, right? But here's the problem. Most people's technique is actually way better than it needs to be, but their ability to put the ball, right, in the hole or to play the game is not good, right? They only scratch the surface um, on the strategic side. They start once they start keeping the ball in play and then tracking proximity and eliminating three putts. The next thing you know, man, I broke 90. I broke 80 for the first time. I hear it every week, right? And if you're constantly frustrated, maybe it's time to try something different, right? So improve your strategy. Okay. That's really all we're talking about. So that would be day two. And here's the day two homework. I want you to play 9 or 18 holes, doesn't matter. And I want you to score your putts, not how many putts you make. I mean, obviously score that as well. But I want you to note primarily what is the length of that first putt. All right. Where do you hit it from? Where did you hit it from? Was it a chip inside of 25 yards? Was it a pitch inside of 50? Was it a wedge shot inside of 100 that got you going? All right. Was it an iron shot inside of 150? Was it a 3-wood from 230? Right. All right. And I want you to total those first putts lengths, if you would, for each category. Right. Let's say 25, 50, 100, and 150. Right. So that gives you 4 different categories. And what is the average distance from each hole, from each one of those, right? This will give you some real clarity on how good of a pitcher, chipper, or how good of what we call the zone, the scoring zone. How good are you inside the scoring zone? Do you make the right decisions or do you make, ridiculous decisions that are costing you strokes? So that to me, that day two piece is really where we shave a ton of strokes off almost all of our golfers, but especially when we get on the golf course with them and we show them what they're actually doing versus what they think they're doing. So if you'll do that, right, that alone will knock off 3 to 5 strokes for sure. All right. So I said I was going to give you 3. Here's the third one. All right. I want you to craft a mindset for scoring. All right. Not playing well, for scoring. They are not the same thing. I've played many, many rounds where I played pretty well, but my score was average. And then there's been other rounds where I didn't play so well, right? But my score was nails. All right. But this is really the final skill set or final step in getting better at assessing the skill level that you already have. All right. What I tend to see is that our thoughts lead to our emotions. What I mean by that is a better player is often very loose, right? At 1 or 2 over par, but they really, really start to tighten up, right? When they get to 1 or 2 under, right? Or they're getting ready to shoot their best round and someone reminds them with 4 holes, to go how great they're playing, right? Um, that tightening, all right, for lack of a better word, that leads to more thought, which leads to more tightening, which leads to more anxiety. And that anxiety leads to struggling to commit to a shot. Man, in this previous round that I played, I assure you, I don't think I committed to more than a handful of shots And by the way, that handful of shots that I did commit to, I nailed those shots, but everything else, not so much. All right. So when you have a lot of anxiety, you have a lot of angst, just when you say that out loud, man, when you have a lot of doubt, right? Should have been the 8 iron, should have been the 9 iron, right? Um, it leads to a bad shot. And you know that. Again, I prefaced all this with this is not rock, there's nothing rocket science in here, right? And a lot of coaches have said the same stuff in just different words, right? The player the player that you are has a lot to do with the mindset that you're in, not your ability, the mindset that you're in when you're ready to hit that shot, all right? Um, I say to people all the time, "Look, it wasn't a technique problem, it was a commitment problem," right? Most people have the commit or the technique, then if they put that technique together with commitment, they normally play better. So what I see, all right, and what I know from these better players, right, or from all players for that level, for that matter, I should say, if you're not getting committed, fully committed on the golf shot that you're about to hit, then you're going to struggle. There's a reason why almost every caddy in the world says to the professional that they're caddying for these words right before they pick up the bag and walk behind their golfer. What do they say? Commit to the shot. How do I know? Because I've walked with a bunch of them, right? You don't even have to walk with them. You can listen to them on golf or when you're watching golf, right? If the mic is there to pick it up, you'll hear them, right? And it's not a certain category or set a category of golfers or a certain style of caddies. And when you just think that through, these guys are the best in the world, right? And their caddy and they're playing for money, right? Millions of dollars. If they don't win, they don't get paid. And their caddy, and they practice nonstop, and their caddy has to tell them to commit to the shot. I mean, it's a crazy game. It's most definitely the hardest game I've ever played and the hardest game on the planet. So, look, you have to have a mindset for scoring, all right? So here's your homework. At the end of every shot, right? Every single shot. So you shoot 95, you're going to do this 95 times. I want you to note and track your level of commitment to the shot. What do I mean by that? Did you visualize it? Did you actually see your 9 iron shot? You're hitting a nice little draw, a baby draw, and you're landing it on the right side of the green, right? And it's going to roll out 5 feet. Did you do any of that? Or were you in doubt of the decision, right? Were you like, hey, you know what? This normally is my 9 iron, but maybe I should hit my 8 iron, right? I'm not striping it too well today, right? Were you committed to the shot as far as your tempo and all that, or did you rush the shot, right? Did you duck hook it in the water, right? And blame it on your technique or your bad shoulder like I have, or, whatever. I want you to start tracking the commitment level on every shot on a scale of 1 to 10 for the round, right? And you're going to see, if you're honest with yourself, right, you're going to see how that commitment level correlates to the score on every hole, all right? So what you're going to find is the shots that you're committed to and the holes that if you strung 3 or 4 shots together where you're committed, you scored better on that hole. On holes and shots that you weren't committed, you doubled or tripled or quad that hole, right? So there is definitely a correlation between your commitment to every shot and your lower score, all right? So that's it. That is enough. I just given you 3 strategies that you can take to the golf course immediately. I didn't say change your technique, your grip, none of that stuff, right? But we're working on minimizing blow-up holes, right? You're going to track proximity to that first putt, and you're going to track the commitment to your shots. All of these are powerful tools for lowering your score and changing how those scores are, meaning lowering them, without changing really anything else, all right? If you'll go out there and give these 3 challenges a try, I promise you'll get the swing and the game that you've always imagined. Hey, Daniel here. If you're looking to get new clubs, you need to consider PXG. And I know what you're thinking. PXG is too expensive, or I'm not good enough to get fitted for clubs. And look, I'm here to tell you that neither is true. PXG is no more expensive than any of the top manufacturers out there, and everyone and anyone will benefit from getting fitted for clubs. And here's the best part, it's literally free. That's right. Getting fit at PXG is free. So when you're ready to get a new driver, new woods, new irons, or even a new putter, simply let me know and I'll help you get the swing and the game you've always imagined with a new set of clubs from PXG.